Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about engineering management. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, what about becoming an engineering manager? What are your recommendations? I've not decided yet if I should go to the tech lead path or a management path. Thank you for all your videos. No worries. So, tech lead versus engineering manager. Usually the difference between the two is that the tech lead is primarily a software developer. I mean, of course, you do some management of teams and stuff like that, but not in the same level as the engineering manager. Whereas the engineering manager is basically, well, it's a pure HR person. It's your primary focus is to meet, well, on average it's to meet the recruitment quota of the company, and of course facilitate initiatives and things like that related to knowledge spreading, community and sense of belonging, all these sorts of things. But you're primarily a human resources person. So the thing to know about being an engineering manager at the basic level is that you don't actually need to have super strong coding skills to be an engineering manager. You can actually be a junior software developer and become an engineering manager. I know this for a fact because I've seen it happen a few times now. I have all friends who literally, like, they went to the university, they worked as software developers for like a year or two, and then they became engineering managers. I mean, of course, you have different levels of that as well, but it is very feasible. That would be very hard to swing if you were, let's say, like if you wanted to become I mean, you can become a tech lead, of course. I mean, anybody can become anything if the requirements are low enough, but it would be very hard to swing to become, say, enterprise level architect after 2 years of work experience. But for an engineering manager, the focus is not so much on your hard technical skills, it's about your people skills. So being a junior developer who is very sociable and very good with people is, it's very feasible for you to become one. The question is if the company's going to feel happy hiring you and things like that, because that's where this becomes a little bit hard and fluffy. And I'm not very good, I'm gonna be honest, with fluffy professions, because I don't really like, I mean, I know what matters, but I don't know what people evaluate in order to determine if you should be an engineering manager or not. The usual thing that happens is that you go by projects and previous roles, and then it's a lot of gut feeling when you hire people. So when you're starting out as an engineering manager, it's a sort of same thing as product management and so forth. Whenever you're a manager of any sort, a lot of what's going to get you hired is, well, of course, one part is what have you done in the past, but on the other hand, but also your personal aptitude for the job. So what I like to say is that if, let's say, you're going to be an architect or something like more technical oriented, the distribution between hard tech skills and soft skills is like 50-50. An engineering manager is like 80% soft skills, 20% coding skills. Now, the one thing you should be aware of when you become an engineering manager is that the two things that are going to make you effective at, the most effective at your job is, first and foremost, number one, to be a good judge of character. Because usually as an engineering manager, you are, depending on the company now, because it's a very loose, fluffy term, so your responsibilities may vary, but you are going to be the primary point of contact for all the engineers, which means that you are going to be the person who is expected to address work-related issues or education initiatives, things like that. But the primary thing I would suggest to you, which is probably the thing, I mean, of course, and that's where the soft skills come in, and that's not something you can really teach. It's something that you kind of have to live. You have to get good at that stuff. And I mean, if if you want to practice, go and work in a soup kitchen or volunteer for like leading sports activities and stuff like that. But that part I'm going to leave for you to figure out. The hottest tip that I can give you is that you should go really heavy on recruitment skills. Why? Well, it's very simple. Because as an engineering manager, you are going to be responsible for recruitment. And there is nothing harder in IT at the management level. Nothing is more difficult than finding good developers at a reasonable cost, in time, and keeping them in the company. I cannot imagine a more complicated problem than this thing. It is very difficult, and that's why I tell you that you need, the first thing is to be a good judge of character, and the other thing is to focus on recruitment skills, because at the end of the day that is going to be your biggest pain point usually as an engineering manager. Apart from, a manager is always a manager, so there's a lot of things going on that is going to be very stressful for you, but this thing here, you need to get this thing right. Now, the best way, or rather the best engineering manager that I know, I actually worked with for a while, and he has these things down. Basically, he understands. You're going to learn that very quickly. You're going to learn to never trust consultancies, and never, always screen people. Understand how to set up a good code test and interviewing process. How to scale the thing is also very important, and all of these things I can of course walk you through, because I have done these things, even though I'm not an engineering manager. I've set these processes up for companies, and I've also been part of these processes when other people have done it. But in general, these are the things that you should focus on, and I suspect that you're going to find that being an engineering manager really does come down to the people part. It's really, we call it an engineering manager, but as you can imagine, it's the same thing with a design manager. Like whatever manager you are, you're simply just you're a manager an HR person basically, who has some knowledge within the field that you're hiring for, the thing that you're managing for. And as long as you fulfill those two quotas, you're just really going to be fine. So what I want you to take away from this is that an engineering manager, or if you're going to choose between a tech lead or an engineering manager, it really comes down to what do you want to do. Do you want to spend most of your time coding and being involved in technical discussions, or do you want to talk to people and manage happiness at the office, stuff like that, being a people person? Because these are the two paths usually. Engineering managers are almost pure HR people, whereas tech leads are almost pure, like, it's 80-20 in both directions. You have 20% people skills depending on situations. Now, of course, with the tech lead role, and 80% technical stuff, and then as an engineering manager you have the reverse. So that's what I can tell you about that, and what's right for you is, well, that's what I'll leave that to you. The best tips that I can give you to be an effective engineering manager is, apart from very, very strong social skills and having a good outlook on life and being a very good diplomat overall, is to first and foremost be a good judge of character, because I promise you, if you hire people and you get them into the company and they cause a lot of issues and stuff like that, that's just going to be headaches for you, and your manager is going to look at you to fix these sorts of issues, right? So creating a good ecosystem in the workplace and things like that, that's going to be on you. And the hottest tip that I can give you is to focus a lot on recruitment skills. Figure out how to effectively recruit developers, how to set up coding tests and like hiring processes, and then also of course PR stuff. How do you get in contact with good recruiters if you're going to work with that, or if you're going to do the recruitment, how do you get like a good funnel of people who come into the pipeline and stuff like that? Because your number one problem usually is going to be to get your head count, basically. To get quality people in IT is the biggest problem that the IT industry is facing at this point. The shortage is so enormous that it doesn't really matter in many cases what you are offering, because all the really good developers are already taken. Have a great day.